Okay guys, just a little bit of chit chat on this one. I was just going to draw Sue in a Skullgirl style, but after playing around with the art style for a while, I really got into it and I decided I'm just going to go ahead and draw a film poster look with the M.O.N hit squad from Monster Musume. So having played around with the Skullgirl art style, I can safely say that it's all about them curves. Okay, if you want to have a go at this, I highly recommend it. It's just all luscious curves all the way around. Big cheeks, big hips, big buskers, everything. I highly recommend it. It's a good fun art style to just really have a go with, or at least take in some of it to use. When you really start embracing this like curvy art style, you'll stop and realize that you really haven't done enough curves. It's never going to be enough. Every time you do something, you always find yourself making them bigger and more curvaceous. And even when I finished this picture, I still felt as though I should have made the characters even more curvaceous than I did, because they just didn't look as... I almost wanted them to be more out there and fun looking. So if you do this, it's a good way to loosen up any kind of rigid art style you've got going on. I recommend it if you're very fixated on being anatomically correct. I would say it's a good idea to go away and actually have a go at one of these art styles that just throws that to the wayside and doesn't care about being perfectly anatomically correct, and cares more about substance and style than being accurate. It's never hindered me when doing art to step away from being correct and drawing something that's wrong and extreme instead of being animatronically accurate. If you're feeling like your art style is becoming rigid, I recommend it, and it really does help loosen out your art style when you just stop caring about that sort of thing. As long as you know that you're doing it wrong, because you can't be jumping straight into something like this. You need to get down the basics of understanding how a body should look and then abstracting it up afterwards, so you understand what your drawing is inaccurate to what bodies should look like. But when you do understand that sort of thing, you come out with some really fun stuff and you have a really good time drawing art, and you get carried away like I did in this picture and end up drawing a whole kind of movie poster style thing other than just a simple character piece of art, which I was going to do, and this ended up taking longer than I thought I should have spent on it, given that I haven't got much time to work on my other work. But I really got into it and enjoyed it, so if you get into that mood, I recommend just going for it. For the Skullgirls art style, I would say it's a play on 1950s flapper pin-up culture, and it really kind of takes that and abstracts it out to what they were trying to show off in those sort of imagery. It has got some anime influences in it, I mean, especially in the eyes and in some of the hairstyles and stuff like that, but it very much feels more taking from that. And even when you play the game, you listen to the music and whatnot like that, you realise this is a 1950s rip game and it plays on everything from that culture, and anyone who's a fan of the game will know this. You don't need me telling you that. But say, if you haven't looked at flappers or pin-up girls from the 1950s, I recommend going away and checking those out and seeing the similarities, and they might even inspire you to do some art based on them, because they're a very interesting culture that has some style to them that you just don't see anymore in fashion today unless someone is actually parrying that from that period of time. I particularly like the look of that time period's art and fashion, so I would like using those kind of art styles in some of my work, especially when I'm doing anything kind of noirish, because I have done noirish work before, and I do find it a really interesting period of time. Skullgirls does a very good job of this, and I just loved the art style when I got down to trying it out. This was the first time I actually tried out to do anything in Skullgirls kind of look. I'm a little bit off, but I really enjoyed it, so it doesn't really bother me that much. When I get to the colouring, I have to say the colouring is just kind of stereotypical. It's it's kind of what I like to say is like a shock coloring, where it's just using a slightly feathered brush and just going around the edges and making sure those thick line work is highlighted. That's all it's really doing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but it's the kind of stereotypical digital colouring method, and it looks good with the line work that they've got going. So I think if they did anything a little even more fancy than the colouring that's in this one, I think it might have been too much. So I think they chose very wisely to make it just this kind of... It also helps with the standing out in a video game. So, but yeah, it's this kind of... it just shows off the line work and shows off the characters' shapes better, which I think works great here. I tried to show off the M.O.N's personality as well as I drew this. You've got like the Zombina as being like a wild, outlandish girl, like very gun-ho. You got Manako, who's the quiet, shy Cyclops, who's kind of focused and determined, but she's not very like social. Is it Toshia? I think her name is. It's kind of going innocent ogre kind of thing. You know, that lovable big lug kind of thing going on, and she's the female equivalent, which is a lovable innocent lug. And then Doppel, she's a little bit of the odd one because she's very similar to Zombina, but she's less gung-ho but still cocky. I don't really think she's promiscuous per se, but they try to give her that sort of attitude because she's running around naked, but I don't think she's overly more so than other characters in the series. I think she's just cocky, to be perfectly honest. And you've also got... I've got Miss Smith in there as well. I just think she's an important character to the crew, so I added her in. I just got her kind of smirking in the background. I couldn't make my mind up about her head for a long time during this picture, and I decided to just leave it because I thought she looked fine. But the angle in which I had her face, I wasn't overly happy with by the end of it. But I was spending too long as it was on this picture. But I think it turned out okay. You've got fan favourite Sue up there as well. She's kind of an odd character as well. I just had her kind of onlooking in a kind of innocent way she is. She's one of those plot god characters that I don't know if there's a real name for it. If there is, please let me know. But it's that character that's whimsically doing nothing in the plot, but actually kind of moving it forward and pushing characters to a certain direction. It's probably a trope that I don't know the name for, but an example of it is like Jigglypuff in Pokemon, how like she's about and she will like influence things in the background. Or if you want like another take on this, I suppose a less subtle version of this is Gollum in Lord of the Rings, but he's obviously a little bit more purposeful with what he's doing, but he's ironically changing things in a positive fashion for the plot as it goes along without meaning to, which is the main crux of it, is that you've got this kind of innocent character in the background that's influencing the plot in its positive outcome without meaning to. But I just like had her in the background kind of onlooking because people really wanted me to draw her, and I ended up being more interested in drawing the M.O.N in this art style, and I thought I'd just draw her in anyway because I don't know if I'm going to be doing another picture from this series. I might do, see what comes up. I might get better ideas or worse ideas as it goes along in the month. But that's pretty much all I have to say about this. Thanks for watching and enjoy, and see ya! bye.